plus one ways to fund your startup dream. My name is Elena Karayani. I'm part of Agora team here at Hellenic Development Bank and your coordinator in today's webinar. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. We appreciate your interest and your participation. Just a few words on what we do here as Hellenic Development Bank. HDB is the only 100% state-backed financial intermediary in Greece. We are linked with countering market failures and destined to cover financial asymmetries, operating in a complementary way between the enterprises and banks to cover financial needs. During the last 3 years, more than 45,000 new loans of 9.4 billion euro loans have been approved through our financial schemes, and more than 60 financial schemes have been launched. Now, before we begin, let's do some housekeeping. The webinar will be recorded. We will post a recording of today's webinar on our Agora site in just a few days. Feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions or share your thoughts with us. We encourage active participation, so please don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the chat. We will also conduct a short Q&A at the end of the session, and we will try to answer as many of them as possible. By the end of our time today, we truly hope that you feel more comfortable and confident about such an interesting topic today. So please stay tuned until the end. Now, we are very fortunate to have with us Mr. Argyros, such a talented and experienced speaker today, and I'm sure you will learn a lot. I had the pleasure of discussing many times in the past with Mr. Argyros, and his passion for this subject is truly infectious. I'm excited for everyone to benefit from his expertise today. Let me say just a few words on Mr. Argyros. He's a venture builder with more than 22 years of experience in building from scratch and running tech ventures. He's a pioneer in introducing new technological solutions that are utilizing big data, human-computer interaction interfaces, and artificial intelligence. I think he's also a TEDx speaker, a guest lecturer in universities, international awards winner, and he has been voted as one of the 10 Greek entrepreneurs that you should look out for. So let's not waste any valuable time. Mr. Argyros, the floor is yours. Please share with us your 20+1 tips to fund up your startup dream.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's my great pleasure to be here today. Hopefully, we'll have a productive session. And as you mentioned, I'm a venture builder. I have created my first venture when I was 18 years old. In brief, I had 2 small exits, 2 flops, and recently emerged. In the last 4 years, 5 years, my vision has been on how we can make venture building accessible to all. I strongly believe that if each one of us can receive the support they need in order to build their venture, in order to go from idea to growth, at the end of the day, our world will be more fair, it will be more creative, it will be more generous. So this has been my focus for the last 4 or 5 years. The area that I have been focusing a lot the last months, I must admit, is, and the challenge is how we can get the value that has been created in the research territory through new technologies, through innovation solution, and bring this value to the market. What you can see here is a recent report that I found that depicts exactly this reality. In the European level, we're lagging behind, so we compared with the US. So there is a lot of space for improvement on how we can get new ideas, how we can test those ideas, how we can create new ventures, fund those ventures, and hopefully build a sustainable business and stable products. And on this challenge, I'm very happy to let you and our participants today know that There are two key players that are joining forces. From one side, we have Demokritos, which is the biggest and largest uh, research center in Greece with more than 60 years of experience in all kinds of different territories, from artificial intelligence to energy to nuclear, in the near future to quantum computing as well. And so from the research side, we have the biggest, oldest, largest research center. And from the other side, from the market side, we have more global, which is one of the fastest growing group of companies. Currently, we have 80 different ventures. Most of them are based in Brussels, in Belgium. We have offices in Japan, in Cyprus, in Greece, in Portugal. And hopefully by next semester, we will open up our two new offices in Mexico and Brazil. So these two entities are joining forces and creating a new venture called Innovate, who has exactly this focus, how we can cultivate an ecosystem around innovation, how we can build tools, services, solutions that will support multiple stakeholders, all the stakeholders that are involved in this ecosystem, from policymakers to investors and funding arms to startups, scale-ups, academia. So how we can focus on these stakeholders and build solutions that are scalable, taking into account the different maturity level of each of those stakeholders. So in brief, these are the 6 areas of our services. So we help our customers, our partners to set up their own investment fund, production studio, create training sessions focusing on innovation, acceleration programs, set up and implement an innovation center for disruptive technologies, and of course, corporate innovation hubs. In combining these two entities, we have been very fortunate to let you know that we have attracted more than 29 million of euros in investment. We have set up more than 32 spin-outs. We have supported more than 60 scale-ups in Greece, and of course, hundreds of publications, events, and seminars that we have participated. And in the global landscape, our team has set up the first fund in Libya, which is one of the first operational VCs in Africa. We have set up and we are managing one of the most successful venture studios in Belgium. We are supporting constantly multiple startups and scale-ups in Japan, and we have been very fortunate to set up and supporting corporate innovation now in a Fortune 50 company in a global scale. So that's a short intro from my side, and of course, feel free to reach out if there's something that we can help you with, if there is any opportunity for collaboration. Now, I would like to give the mic back to the audience, so please feel free to write in the chat a short intro from your side, how we can connect on LinkedIn, on Discord, what is your goal for today, and have, if you wish, of course, one thing that you would like to ask or get input from the group, something that you would like to get some help from this session. Feel free, you can do it throughout the session. It will help us a lot to get a better understanding of who you are and how we can help you moving forward, either during the session or after the session. So feel free to use the chat, and I'm really looking forward from learning more from you. So let's start now. After this short intro, 20 plus 1 ways to fund your startup. I have grouped this 20 plus 1 ways in 6 areas, starting with the top left with the individual level, so in the personal level, how we can, what are the different channels that somebody can utilize in order to get funding for their venture, moving towards the more established entities in a private nature, more public nature, in the global landscape, and then in decentralized nature. So let's start with the first group of, individual level, how from which channels can I get the funding from my startup? The obvious way is through your personal financing. So using your personal savings, create the capital for your startup. This gives you, the positive is that it gives you full control, and you have quick access to your pocket, and you don't have any obligation to pay back. Unfortunately, there is a significant risk, personal risk, and there are limited resources that you have available, and you don't get any guidance. So your left alone to do whatever you wish. So that's why you can see on the left some of the different forms of this channel. Just a tip from my side: be extremely careful. Follow this path through great caution. Believe me, I have done it, and I know how hard it is when you have your own personal savings invested in your idea. The second level, so after the personal level, is your friends and family. You can get some funds from your personal network, from your brother, mother, wife, whatever your friends. This is again very flexible as a structure. It is based on trust, and of course you get the support in a more personal level. On the negative side, you have the risk of destroying the relationship. And keep in mind that when you're taking this path, the other party is not fully aware of what is a startup, so what are the risks and what are the implications. So yeah, treat again this with caution. Now we move a bit broader to the broader ecosystem, and we have the angel investors, who usually are wealthy individuals that they are willing to give funding capital for equity. Next to the equity through angel investors, you can also get some mentorship, you can also get some access to a broader network, and usually it is a very agile, very flexible setup. On the negative side, you get usually you need to give a lot of equity, so you get diluted exactly because they're investing in early stages. You need to focus a lot on managing the expectations. It's again in a personal level, so each angel investor might have different objectives, and usually have limited funds. The ticket, the investment that you can receive is usually small amounts. I forgot to mention that if you can see in each slide, on the left side, I have some examples in the European level that you can use as a reference for each of the channels that I'm mentioning. So number 4, angel syndicates. What are angel syndicates? They are a group of angel investors that combining resources, and you can find them offline and online. The positive in this approach is that you can tap in a large pool, and there is diverse expertise that you can utilize. And because they're sharing the risk, they're more open to participate, easier participate than a solo angel investor. On the negative side, it is really complex as a setup. We have seen it again and again, that especially when it comes to taking a decision, it is a slow process because you need to get a signature from 10, 15 different angel investors, and there is a potential for conflict of interest because an investor that has participated might have another investment, or it is his her day job, and there is some kind of conflict that can be there. And the last panel for, again, individual level are the crowd investment platforms. So online platforms that have the sole focus of connecting startups with angel investors, where you can give usually a small part of the equity, and you can promote it in a larger audience. The positive in this approach is exactly the audience that's pretty wide. This also gives you a validation in the market, and also help you when it comes to the brand exposure. On the negative side, it is the success rate is not so high, so it's not very easy for somebody to secure funding through these crowd investment platforms. There is a fee for the platform that you're using that you need to pay, which is significant. And there is this risk of IP, especially if you haven't prepared properly your campaign and you're sharing more information publicly than you should. So these 5 ways are again individual level. So now let's move to a bit broader level, established entities that in their core they have the private nature. First of all, in this category, we have the incubation acceleration programs. So programs that provide funding, which is crucial, but also they combine financial with operational support. So you can get out of this program resources, access to investors, learning opportunities. The negative side on this is that it is kind of a fixed as a structure. You also get diluted a lot compared with what you receive from the program, and sometimes it's time consuming because there is difficult to get in. There are 3, 4, 5 months of duration, so you need to invest a lot of your time participating in these programs as well. Another channel in established entities has to do with venture studios. What are venture studios? Venture studios are entities that they're bringing together, they're backing the cut of the investor, the cut of the co-founder, and the cut of the partner. So within one team, you get the holistic support. You can get support on building your product, on finding your customer, recruiting, and creating your team, which also helps you, mitigate the risk and have access to a network. On the negative side, you lose some part of your independence because actually you get a co-founder, and through the venture studio, you get significant diluted when it comes to equity. And again, there is the potential for conflict of interest based on the focus and the activities of the rest of the organization of the venture studio. We move to the next one, which are investment funds. Pretty straightforward vehicles that they have a solo focus investing in startups. And through investment funds, you can get significant funding. You also connect and get a touch point with the industry, and it helps you when it comes to the reputation. So it's a good signal to the market that you will receive some kind of funding. On the negative side, again, significant equity dilution. There is this due diligence process, which sometimes we had cases that it takes too much of your time, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And there is this after the investment, the potential misalignment on the strategy, on the direction that your startup needs to take. In this part, I just wanted to showcase the different characteristics, the different filters, the different categories of investment funds. So I have put here some key areas that distinct investment funds. One has to do with the maturity level of the startup that the investment fund is focusing on. So there are different funds that they have focused on early stage, on pre-seed and seed stage investment. And usually they give smaller tickets and they have different expectations from the team, from the product. And there are other funds that they focus on more mature ventures in Series A, Series B rounds, which means again that the funding they have available, the tickets they have are higher. And as a result, the expectations they have from you, from your venture, when it comes to the team, when it comes to the product, when it comes to the market, are totally different. Another criteria that distinguishes the different funds has to do with the geographic focus. Some of them are focused, for example, in Greece. Some of them are focused in the US market, in the Middle East. They have different categories. Another distinction has to do with industry. Some of the funds select to have focus on mobility, on pharma, on fintech. And lastly, there are some categories, some characteristics of the funds per se. For example, there are some funds that are operational VCs, which means that they provide operational support when they combine it with the investment they make. There are some micro funds that have smaller tickets, they're more flexible, more agile. There are some evergreen funds, which means usually a fund has a duration, a life cycle of 7 to 10 years. Evergreen funds, they don't have any end of life, so it could be up and running from 10, 20, 30 years, which gives you also, let's say, long-term partner in this case. They're corporate funds, so big corporations, they decide to create an investment app that they utilize and combine it with their business activities. There's some impact funds, which means that they, next to the requirements when it comes to your team, to your product, they have also the focus on investing on ventures that create some kind of impact. All these categories, and there are many more, it's good to keep them in mind when you're interacting with an investment fund. It could be the case that you're talking with the wrong investor solely because they have different focus. They focus on different market, different territories. They have different way to invest. So do your homework whenever you're interacting with somebody who's from an investment fund. Of course, these categories more or less are relevant to most of the channels. I just chose the investment fund because it is the one with the widest, let's say, territory. So next one, number 9, family offices. Usually there are some wealth management firms that they have been supporting and founding by a very rich individual that they have this focus of investing to early stage startups. They have the positive, they have this long-term focus, and they have flexibility. You don't have any limitations usually on their investment thesis, and they also bring some credibility to the table. On the negative side, they don't exactly because they don't have any necessity to invest. Usually, they have limited number of deals, and they don't have a lot of. They don't have they have limited focus, and after using the investment, we have seen some cases that there is some complexity with the relations, especially in the personal level. Next one are private equity funds, which basically are vehicles that invest in more mature companies. They're willing to invest more, so larger amount. They also provide strategic support, operational support, and as a result, they most of the times they want some control or be part of the management team. They have high expectations of their return on investment, and usually their process, their due diligence is extensive, which also could act as a negative based on your needs and your timelines. Another one is an old school, but it can be cool as I had here. Approach banks traditional way. You don't need to get to give any kind of equity. The terms are pretty clear, and also it could act as a good signal for your reputation. On the negative side, you need to give back the money most of the time, so it's a loan, and you need to provide some kind of collateral. And again, most of the time, the criteria to get this kind of funding are pretty strict. Another one has to do with NGOs, so non-governmental organizations that they have the mandate to provide support to startups, usually connected with some kind of social or environmental focus. On the positive side, they help you succeed and reach your goals. Most of the times, they are not asking for some kind of equity, or if they do, it's pretty limited. And they can help you also when it comes to networking. And on the negative side, they have limited scope. It is too hard for them, so the competition is pretty high, and there is a lot of reporting and monitoring that it takes a lot of your time when you have received the program, the grant. Another one, again in the private category, are strategic partnership. So collaboration with more established entities that you create a, let's say, win-win situation. So there is mutual benefit for both parties. You through them you can get access to the market or the technology, and you can do it in reduced cost. On the negative side, there are some dependencies, especially you need to think about the next step. So if you partner with a key player in the market, it will be difficult to find as a customer another competitor or to receive an investment from a fund that is looking for opportunities to scale. And most of the time, the setup is complex because they don't have a ready one-size-fits-all approach. Last on this category are secondary markets. I'm not aware, most of the options that I said already, I'm pretty sure that one way or the other are relevant with the Greek market. I'm not aware of a secondary market when it comes to the Greek ecosystem. So if anybody from the participant know, please let me know. What are secondary markets are, markets that you can trade your equity, a marketplace that you can give your equity and get some funding, some money out of it. This provides liquidity, of course. This can help you understand what is the valuation of your company and can attract investors to your business. Again, there is some taxes, so I don't know if it is relevant for the Greek ecosystem. There is some complexity with the regulation, and usually you need to provide some kind of discount to the valuation. So usually you provide your equity with the discounted price. So these were the cases, the channels when it comes to entities that have a private nature. Now we move to those that have more public character. We start with the universities, which there are many initiatives that are led by universities, focusing most of the times on R&D and innovation territory. So this is a positive. Also, you can, through this initiative, you can get access to their own resources, testing centers, their overall network. On the negative side, most of the times it's pretty limited the focus. Most of the times it's pretty bureaucratic, so it takes a lot of your time and your effort. And it could be the case that there are some issues when it comes to intellectual property. Next one are state-owned funds, sovereign wealth funds. I was trying to avoid this word, I don't know why, but I don't pronounce very well. Anyway, state-owned funds that they invest in all kinds of different assets. They have a lot of capital, so that this is not a limitation, pretty stable, and they have this long-term horizon. On the negative side, they have complex criteria to for them internally. The process to get this funding is lengthy, and they're pretty selective based on their strategy, their overall ambitions. Another one entity that has public nature are government bodies, entities that provide grants, tax incentives. Usually they do it in low risk. They provide this credibility and validation for your venture. And on the negative side, some cases it could be complex, the process to receive this funding. There are some policy risks if it is not properly handled, and there are some limitations of how you can use your funds. One such entity, of course, is Hellenic Development Bank, that also is supporting us today with the Agora and all the different vehicles and initiatives that's making the Greek ecosystem. Another entity in the public sphere are R&D grants, grants that they have specific focus on financing research and development activities. Most of the times they're not asking for any kind of equity. They focus a lot on innovation and R&D, and again, they bring also credibility. On the negative side, they're super competitive. It's really hard to get most of the horizons and R&D grants. They have specific focus when it comes to the use of fund, and they require a lot of reporting and project management efforts. Another category are the entities that are in the global sphere, so hypernational initiatives, which are initiatives in a large scale that they span across different countries, territories, regions, which is a positive. You can get this global reach, you can secure high impact, and of course you can access experts in all kinds of different fields. And the negative in some cases, it's pretty complex as setup, which can also create some conflicts in regulation and some challenges when it comes to cultural mix. Such a case is, I don't know if we have any venture from the audience that is coming from the defense and dual use territory, but such a program is the Diana Youth Acceleration Program that has created this acceleration initiative across all NATO countries and gives, for the first time, from what I'm aware, support, financial and operational support to ventures, to startups that they want to create a dual use offering. Second to last category are the decentralized channel. So decentralized entities, communities that they offer through their communities, through these entities, you can receive some kind of funding. It could be an investment fund acting as a venture DAO. It could be a venture studio acting as a DAO, as a decentralized autonomous organization. Overall, they're very flexible models. Again, through this, you can secure this global reach, exactly because there are different community members across the globe, and usually there isn't any intermediary causing any conflicts. On the negative side, because it's at the beginnings, there could be some uncertainty when it comes to regulation, and when it comes to the security risks, and to the volatility of the market, something that we have witnessed a couple of, let's say, last year. So these were the 5 categories, starting again in a personal level, growing into entities in more established entities in private, public, global sphere. And I left for last my favorite, the one that I think is it should be the objective for every venture builder. And I'll give you a couple of seconds if you can think of one way, one channel, one category that I haven't mentioned that you think should be your key focus whenever you want to finance your venture. So if you wish on the chat, if you have any idea, give you a couple of seconds.
Feel free.
Any idea? Okay. Okay, so my favorite one, the one that we also always emphasize to all the ventures that we create, that we support, that they should have at the top of their priority is the customer. So they need to start from the customer, you need to start from your customer, either through some pre-sales or crowdfunding or some flexible setups that you can provide some kind of minimum viable product that you get paid from it. This gives you the validation that you need, the product market fit. You don't need to give any kind of equity. And also through the process, you are building strong relationships with your customers, understand what are their needs, how you can create value for them, and how you can capture value from throughout the process. The only risk that we have seen from that is that you cannot deliver. So you are over-promising and under-delivering, which is always a challenge. Yeah, so these were the 20+1 ways that you can fund your startup. And once again, please feel free, if you wish, of course, you can share in the chat and some your contact information, what are your goals for today, if you have anything that you would like to ask the group here, how we can help, how we can support each other, either now or after the session. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All from me.
Thank you, Adonis. That was a very, very interesting webinar, I think, for all of us. There are so many who want your presentation, and they ask whether we should send it to them by email or where they're going to find it. However, if you have any question, again, feel free to actively participate with us. I have a few questions. Based on your experience, which sectors do you need? Do you think they need the support of an accelerator? And in general, what is the case of Greece?
When it comes to the acceleration programs, I think they're pretty mature now. I have joined an incubation program, a different acceleration program in Greece and in the Netherlands like 10, 12 years ago. So since then, a lot of things have happened. I think now the ecosystem is more mature, and as a result, the services and the solutions being provided through the acceleration programs are pretty are in the top level. In which areas, usually when you go, you join an accelerator, you want to combine financial with operational support. So you want to get out of this program not only the funding, the pizza money as it is called, but mainly the support. So based on your own needs, if you need some kind of, for example, fundraising, if you want to formulate a team because you're a solo entrepreneur and you want to find a co-founder, if you want to support on the product development, and it's good to filter it accordingly. So target the programs that can deliver the value that you expect from them, regardless if they're in Greece or in different locations. I mentioned one example with the Diana NATO acceleration program, which is perfect for startups that are in the dual use ecosystem, and there isn't any other way for them in their own maturity level to receive the support they need. So it's not so much about the programs. The programs are in a great level. It's more about your own needs. You need to be super laser focused on what are your priorities and find the program that can help you and ensure that can deliver value based on your needs.
Okay, we have two questions from Mr. Diamandopoulos. Is there any venue in Athens where investors meet with founders?
And there are many venues. It's Open Coffee that's happening for 16, 17 years now. There are a lot of meetups, community-focused events. For example, I'm organizing a meetup around Web3, where usually we have investors and startups that they're in the Web3 ecosystem. So if you know your market exactly, it could be different communities, for example, in mobility. I know that we have through our group some activities. So it has to do again with what you're focusing on. And I'm sure that communities that you can interact either as an investor or as a virtual builders and startup.
There is another one. Can you combine any of the 20 ways?
Ideally, you should combine all of them. Eh? That's the idea. You should explore everything and try to see what's a good fit for you and for your own venture. The only thing I mentioned in the beginning, personally, because I've done it and I know the negative side of things, be extremely cautious when you invest your own money. It's something that could have a negative impact in all kinds of different aspects. So you should explore all of them based on what you want to accomplish. That's why I have the positive and negatives, because it has to do with your own needs, your startup needs, the maturity level of your startup.
Okay, another one. Do you think that being a hardware, no software or services company is a drawback in finding an investor?
Great question. I would say the very common saying, that's why it's called hardware, because it's hard. So I know it's not as easy as building this software solution. I will come back to the point that was made about investment funds. There are investment funds that they have focus and they want to invest on hardware companies because they have the network, they have the expertise, they have the capacity to help them moving forward. So if you go to a generalist fund investor, yes, it will not be at the top of their priorities to invest in a hardware solution. But if you do your homework and you identify those funds, those venture studios, those acceleration programs that they have expertise in this field, no, I don't think it will be a problem for you to reach out to them and get their input.
So again, based on your experience, which sectors need the support of an accelerator and funding, the combination of funding and an accelerator? How do we do that? And what's the secret of success to that?
I would say all the sectors need some support, especially in the early stages. There are some areas, for example, quantum computing, we mentioned. Now the market is not mature enough. If you join an acceleration program that has 3-4 months of duration, the growth that you will have will be limited. So it wouldn't provide the highest value for you. But if the program is tailored to your needs, that's why I mentioned again example I used before, the Diana acceleration program, which has a different structure. It is not a 3-month period, but it is 6 plus 6, so 12 months duration, which is aligned with the needs of the dual use ecosystem. Then the acceleration makes sense. So I don't see any reason why, or any territory in any market that is not a good fit for an acceleration program, as long as the program is dedicated, is designed properly to fit, to cover the needs of the specific market, the specific technology of the specific area.
Okay. Is an incubator a prerequisite for an accelerator?
It's not that you can go directly to an accelerator. You can join an incubator without going to an acceleration. So it's not usually incubator, in very early stages when the idea is not properly formulated, might not have a team, might not have a good understanding of the market, and you want some support to design the key elements of your solution. The acceleration is one step ahead, where you have more or less this in place and you want to validate them, find your first customers, find your first investor, build your MVP. But you don't need first to join to incubator and then to accelerate. And just for your information, there is this model of, I think Adler has it, I had it in the slides, that there are some programs that they don't even require a startup. So you can go as a solo, as an entrepreneur without even an idea. And through this program, you can meet other co-founders, you can brainstorm your ideas, and after a couple of months, you can start then formulating your ideas. So there are even pre-incubation models.
Another great question. Would you, Mr. Argyros, invest in more traditional businesses? There is transport, hospitality, events, but without those startups have tech features or deep tech characteristics?
On a personal level, I'm not an investor, so I won't invest. But as I said, my vision is how I can help everybody, how we can create the tools, regardless if it is a tech-enabled or not solution. It could be the retail store that my wife has in my neighborhood. It could be a non-tech transport, hospitality, whatever solution. For me personally, it doesn't make any difference. The idea is how we can help everybody to find the customers, find the support they need, whatever the support it is, and create the venture that everybody is envisioned and receive the support they need.
Okay, can you also explain to us and tell us, based on, again, on your experience, that's why we have you here, how do startups in other countries get funded, and what mistakes do they avoid compared to Greek startups?
As I said, I have been part of the team that we have designed and implemented the first investment fund for startups in Libya. There is the essence of the entrepreneur there is non-existent. 92% of the population is working for the public sector. So the private sector, the idea of having creating a startup and going after my dream is not very common over there. Here in Greece, so this is one, let's say, example of how different things could be. In Greece, reality is what I mentioned before, because I have been part of the ecosystem for the last 15 years, we're pretty mature compared with, at least in the European level. And we are now in a state that there are solutions, there are ways, there are vehicles that you can receive support as an entrepreneur. It's not up to the US or other UK, whatever levels, but still, I think the problem is not so much now the startups. I think the problem is not about the funding or the support. I think now the challenge is there are not so many startups, there are not so many entrepreneurs, there are not so many ideas that they worthwhile investing for. That's my experience. So regarding the ecosystem, as an entrepreneur, you can receive more or less the support you require. It's up to you now to make it happen.
Okay. So what do you think are the mistakes that most startups, especially in Greece, make? And in terms of funding always?
One mistake that many startups are making is that they're overthinking and under developing. So they're preparing their pitch, they're preparing their presentations, but they're not working on their product with their customer, getting validation and getting these learnings. And so I see a lot of cases where a team is working on a product or an idea for 6, 9, 12 months without even making one customer interview interaction with the customer. And a second one when it comes to funding is that they are not exploring different ways besides receiving funding from investment fund. So that's why I want to discuss today about, there are different ways. It's not only going to the 6, 7 Greek funds, but there are different channels that you can finance your idea. So this is something that, from my experience in the Greek ecosystem, I have seen. And the third one has to do about the team, which is a challenge everywhere, the team formulation. They are not one of the two main reasons why startups are failing globally is the team. Either it's not properly formulated or the equity split is not done properly or there isn't the motivation. So we say, we're friends, let's create a startup, 50-50, and then 50-50, I mean, equity. And then during the process, we realize that I'm not delivering what I'm supposed to do. So I don't have any motivation, we are fighting and we cannot attract talent. Long story short, third point, the team, working a bit on the team, creating the proper team structure, incentives, motivation, collaboration schema that will help the team grow. So these are the three.
So it's not about the business plan, a solid business plan.
It's not about the plan, it's about the execution. It's about, as I said, talking with your customer, understanding what they need, trying to explore different financing. As we said before, starting again with your customers, how we can get paid for your product. And the third one, creating a team that can help you scale.
Okay. I have another question. Please feel free for those of you who are joining us today. Is a proof of concept a proof of success?
Proof of concept means that proof of concept you have proven.
You have the idea, yes.
You have proven that you can deliver something that works.
Yes.
Now you need to prove, the next step is that you need to prove that somebody wants that. And then you need to prove that you know how to find those customers. And then you need to prove that you know how to find those customers in a scalable way. So say in a very high level, of course, proof of concept is just the first step of a marathon that you have ahead of you. But it's not indication of the market need. You haven't proven, the product market fit. And it's not indication of the success as a team, what we were saying before, as an organization. It's not indication of the growth that you can scale and create the next unicorn. It's indication that you can, as a team, as an individual, you can deliver something that works and create some kind of value.
Okay, so as a venture builder, how do you help companies that come to you and ask for an advice? How do you start with them?
As I said, our focus are not the individual startups and entrepreneurs. These are the user of our services. We focus on teams that they have the mandate to support multiple startups. So how we help them is, first of all, we work together to define their success criteria, so what they want to accomplish, create a roadmap with a set of actions, deliverables, processes they need to follow, and whenever needed, help them deliver this operational support. So So creating the technology, for example, we have built a venture maturity index, which is an algorithmic way to measure the maturity level of a startup, measuring more than 378 data points. We have built an innovation platform that can help them deliver this operational support. We're building a set of different canvases, framework, tools that can help deliver the value for the venture builders. Yeah, so that's more or less what we do. We design and we implement this solution for teams like investment funds, like corporate innovation arms, like venture studios, like innovation centers, that they have the mandate to support multiple venture builders.
Okay, and once again, as in the case of Greece, what do you think are the challenges and the barriers that the Greek startup companies face today?
And I
Besides
see,
funding.
yeah, I see a challenge. I think now we're in a good stage of creating early stage startups. The next challenge is to scale it up. So how we can take those ventures that they have received 2 million of funding, and how we can help them go to the next stage, leave the Greek market and expand in Middle East, expand in US, expand in the European market. So how they can make the next step. Not necessarily becoming unicorns, but how we can create a better flow of ventures that are growing in bigger markets with, in bigger territories. So that's, at least from my side, a threat and an opportunity at the same time. How can create this support for startups that they want to scale and go outside of the Greek market.
Do you think that there are, the final question, if there are any from the audience, do you think that the Greek startup ecosystem in Greece at this moment needs a boost, something to give them something to scale up and to grow?
For sure, I think I'm mentioning in the deck, sorry for going through the slides. When we think about the ecosystem, we take into account all kinds of different stakeholders, the policymakers, research and development institutions, the academia, NGOs, the donors. So, short answer to your question, definitely there are different ways that each of these stakeholders can get the support they need in order to provide value to the ecosystem and have a structured way to capture value from the ecosystem. And that's as I said at the beginning, the focus of Innovate, how we can cultivate this ecosystem, taking into account the different stakeholders, because each one of those stakeholders has a different focus. We describe some of those characteristics. Today, they have different maturity, they have different objectives.
Yes, but as in the case of Greece, we do not use the R&D from universities, from academia in general. We don't commercialize our ideas and our thoughts. This comes in contrast to countries outside Greece.
Indeed. And again, I will go back to this slide. Indeed, and that's the case across Europe. So this is not only a Greek reality, this is a reality across at least the European ecosystem. And that's why we see it as a way to deliver value, as a way to deliver upon our vision to make venture building accessible to all, exactly because there is a lot of friction, there is a lot of wasted opportunities that we can support, that we can help, that we can cultivate the ecosystem moving forward.
Okay. So this is great. Do you have any other questions? Would you like to give us one more tip, one more hint?
The only one that I usually say, first of all, I say don't follow other people's feedback. Just do it. So that's the only advice I have to give. Just go outside, create your idea, talk with your customers, learn, iterate, and go again.
Okay. So this concludes our contribution for today. It was fantastic to have such an expert guiding through this. Thank you, Mr. Argyros, one more time. It was great having you here with us. And thank you, all of you, for joining us today. And we will see you all next time around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.